What's going on there, YouTube? Welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so we're going to continue our coverage over Fatal Attractions. Now, as you all know, when it comes to Fatal Attractions, it does get a tad bit confusing. And let me explain. You see, you had the main storyline for the actual event, but each chapter of the main storyline was kind of used as a way to focus on the different teams out there at that time for the X-Men. So like, for example, the first chapter was all about X-Factor. The next one was about X-Force. And the third one, well, the X-Men. Now, as you all know, we still have 3 more chapters to actually cover, but when it came to Marvel around that time in 1994, I want to say, for Fatal Attractions, they also released other books that came out between those 6 chapters, like this one right here. It's kind of like, hey, what happened to Cable after Magneto had literally ripped Cable apart? Is he still alive? And so before we were able to actually dive into the last 3 chapters of Fatal Attractions, we had to sit down and cover this issue first to kind of learn what happened to Cable. And really, as we get into the opening pages for today's issue, we do learn that for Cable, it has been 84 hours since Magneto was able to rip him apart. And so right now, you have X-Force kind of wondering, can he actually recover from those kind of injuries? Now, we do learn that this storyline does take place after the death of Illyana and also her funeral. So Uncanny X-Men 303 and also 304. And 304 was the 3rd chapter of Fatal Attractions. And that's why I say that there were a lot of stories that took place between each of the chapters of Fatal Attractions. Either way, for X-Force, they're kind of arguing with one another about the idea that if they should care for Cable, but also will he actually survive? Because now they're learning that the man is more machine than actual human. And they're kind of wondering if he is able to come back from all those different kinds of injuries that Magneto had given him. Now, by the end of this section, you do have Cable actually wake up. And that is the first sign that he is going to be okay. And so now we jump forward 3 days after Cable has woken up to kind of get confirmation that yes, he is okay. Now, this is going to lead into 2 different things happening for Cable, where he'll be on the X-Force books in and out, but also he has his own solo book as well when it comes to Marvel Comics, pushing out all the different X titles. Now, with that being said, we also learned that Sunspot and also Cannonball are leaving the team for a short period of time. And the reason why, because they got to tell Karma what happened to Illyana. Now remember, Karma, Cannonball, and also Sunspot were part of the original New Mutants, but they also fought alongside with Illyana when she was a teenager. And so now with her being dead, somebody has to tell Karma the fact that their old teammate had officially died. And so these 2 characters will be the ones to go to Madripoor to tell her, like, hey, you know, Illyana, she had passed on. She died from some kind of legacy virus. Now, the book is also reminding us the whole idea of Cannonball and Boom Boom. You see, by this point in Marvel Comics, these 2 characters were actually trying to date one another. But here's the problem, though. Neither one of them is trying to make a move to actually initiate the fact that they want to be in a relationship with one another, even though they're madly in love towards each other. Now, you have Cannonball kind of just walking away, not making that move, and you didn't have Richter walk into the room. Now, this is the book also reminding us that there was a period of time where Richter and Boom Boom were also kind of in love with one another. And so for Richter, he hates the idea of seeing his ex-girlfriend moving on to somebody who's too afraid to tell her that he actually loves her. And so it is Richter saying like, hey, I am technically still an option if you want to come back to me. But you have Boom Boom tell him like, no, I don't want to go backwards. I want to go forward. I see myself with him, not with you. And she walks away. But for Richter, it's all like, hey, sooner or later, you're going to make that choice. And I'm hoping that choice is you coming back to me. Now, this kind of leads into more drama between the X-Force members. And what I mean by that actual statement is that we jump over to Pharaoh watching Shatterstar work out. Now, we kind of tell that for Pharaoh, he was the only member of the team that she was able to tolerate. And now we know kind of why. Because, well, she wants to be with him. She has a crush on him. But here comes the problem, though. It does seem like she may have some competition because right after you have Shatterstar being able to finish his workout, he's then confronted by Siryn, the daughter of Banshee. Almost said Black Tom there. Either way, for Siryn, she's kind of tipsy, but she wants to get close to, Shatterstar. She also finds him very attractive. Now, she tries her best to make a move on him, but for Shatterstar, the only thing he cares about right now is just working out to make sure that he's perfect enough for future battles down the road. That's really it. He even tells her, like, hey, you know what? Maybe you should try those moves on somebody else who might actually like those kind of moves, because unfortunately, those moves of yours are not going to work on me at all. But like I said, she was a tad bit tipsy, so right after she got turned down, we actually see her make a move on Cable. Now here's the thing, for Siryn, she has gone through a lot, not a lot, but gone through some things in a short period of time when it comes to her being one of the X-Men characters. And what I mean by that statement is that back on Mirror Island, the Mirror Island saga, where you had the Shadow King being able to take over few different X characters, she was one of them. And so she had her mind played with. And so ever since that moment, it's kind of hard for her to move on after having her mind played with by the Shadow King. And so sometimes she drinks a lot to kind of help her forget what exactly happened to her thanks to the Shadow King. And so when she gets tipsy enough, well, she makes moves on different guys on the team. Like right now, we're seeing her kissing Cable. Now, she does pass out. And right after she does pass out, you didn't have Warpath come in to pick her up and take her over to her room. Now, this is where we learn that Warpath does actually have feelings for Siryn. And apparently he's always there for her right after she gets too drunk and tries to make out with different members of the team. And so right after she does pass out, almost every single night or every other night, he's there to pick her up and take her back to her room. Now, for most of the team members, they realize that for Warpath, he does have feelings for her, but they don't understand why, because it's not like she's giving him any signs that she actually cares for him. But for Warpath, it's more of like, he knows that for her and for him, they're kind of alike. The whole idea of feeling alone no matter what. Because for Warpath, he had lost his entire family, his entire tribe. Now for Siryn, she's not really alone, like she has her father, but they're not really that close. And so for Siryn, it's kind of like, yeah, she is alone and is eating her up inside. Same thing for Warpath. And that is why he kind of likes her, because they're both on the same path right now when it comes to their life. Now, there is one more thing I do want to talk about, and that'd be the whole idea of Cable and Richter kind of, well, really more Richter hating on Cable, because for Cable, he doesn't hate Richter at all. But for Richter, for a long time, he believed that Cable was the one who had killed off his father. Now, Cable told us in the last story arc that he was not the one who had killed off his father. It was actually Stryfe who killed off the father of Richter. But there's still other reasons why Richter hates Cable. So even though Cable is completely innocent, for Richter, he hates the guy with flaming passion. But either way, is Cable trying his best to help X-Force out where he can in different kinds of areas? Not just being the leader, but also kind of being their therapist if they need one. And also other areas as well. Now, the last thing I do want to talk about when it comes to this issue is that we jump over to a prison that's currently holding on to different members of the Mutant Liberation Front. Now, remember, that whole entire organization was being led by Stryfe in the last few story arcs leading into the Executioner's song. But with Stryfe being gone, most of the members of that organization were arrested, being held in prison. Well, it seems like somebody is trying to break them out to restart the whole entire organization once again, to believe in the idea that mutants should be the one ruling over the entire planet. And so we see that those different members are being broken out of prison by a new character called Reignfire. Now, unfortunately, in this issue, we do not get the chance to learn more about this character until later chapters down the road. But it seems like our heroes now have another enemy to worry about, a character known as Reignfire. But this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.